This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not. All right, let's go ahead and open up the doors. Hello and welcome to Pharmacist Friday, everybody, here on Daily with Doc and Becca. My name is Becca Dukes, and it is my honor and privilege to have you here with us, spending some time as you are investing into your own wellness. Well, folks, you're putting things in your toolbox to help yourself make decisions when it comes to, well, your own health and wellness. Plain and simple. There's nothing to sugarcoat. But folks, sometimes we get test results that may not be favorable, and chances are we misunderstand them. And I am super excited as we have with us today Pharmacist Ben Fuchs, who is absolutely incredible at taking health situations, explaining the mechanism of what's going on and what we can do to help ourselves. So folks, if you're experiencing high blood calcium, it's not a disease of too much calcium. And Pharmacist Ben is gonna help us understand that today. Now, if you were invited to this program by somebody specific, make sure that you get back with them. They cared enough about you to share this program, care enough about them to say thank you. And if there's no one to thank, we do have a call team at 855-949-3377. Now, without further ado, it is my honor, my privilege to be able to share the screen with the one, the only pharmacist who takes pride in understanding how the body works, how nutrients work within the body. He's a pharmacist, so he also understands pharmaceuticals. So, Pharmacist Ben, thank you so much for being here with us today. And before you say anything, folks, if you have questions and you're here live with us or out on any of the different platforms and you'd like to ask a question, our amazing team will bring your questions into the program. So if you're here, raise your hand. If you're not, put it in the chat and one of our co-hosts will bring it in. So, Pharmacist Ben, I love that shirt. If I knew you were going to be so colorful, I would have complimented you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I was going to wear my red and green, but I've already used that one, so I can't do that. But Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas.
And happy holidays. Because we got one more call on Monday, and then I guess we got Christmas. And so next week, are you doing a call next week?
No, the day after Christmas, we're going to give you the day off.
Thank you. Okay, good. All right. Yeah. So a couple things. I heard you talking about calcium, but you do you not want to talk about the other stuff? What they're hiding from you think?
I do want to talk about the other stuff because with this individual that I have, they're wanting to throw several different pharmaceuticals at a situation, including some pretty potent statins for high blood calcium.
Okay. So you want to talk about calcium or are they both combined kind of?
They're combined.
Okay. So for the listener, first of all, how do we get this critical health news food diary? I had a question. Somebody couldn't find it. Can you help people with that? Tell people, AJ?
Oh, absolutely. AJ.
So when you sign up for the critical health newsletter, it will be emailed to you.
Okay. So basically you want to sign up for the newsletter and then you get the food diary, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is Dottie on a call here? I was talking to Dottie about that earlier. Monique. See Dottie.
One of our teammates will go ahead and take
Dorothy Becker.
Dorothy Becker, that's it. Dorothy. Hi, Dorothy. Dottie, Dorothy. I hope you heard that about the food diary. I had a nice conversation with Dorothy, and Dorothy's daughter is one of my ACE employees, esthetician, and just a tremendous human being.
Awesome.
Monique. So Dorothy, I hope that helps. Call me if you have any questions. And then back to what you were talking about, this whole idea of calcium. For the listeners, Rebecca sent me a note or a title for the talk about what they're hiding from you. And I kind of, I always feel uncomfortable because there's a tendency to blame doctors. And I don't like blaming doctors in the sense that I know doctors. They're my friends and they're good people.
Me too.
They're good folks. They're not bad people. We have a lot of doctors in longevity. They're not bad people. The model, the paradigm, the overriding concept or idea that you go to the doctor when you're sick, that's the problem. And the idea that doctors can fix you no matter what, that's the problem. The medical model needs to be reserved for trauma, for emergencies, for what we call heroic medicine, where they excel. If we give them the responsibility of addressing our lifestyle concerns, which is the vast majority, 80, 90% of our health complaints are lifestyle based. That's on us. That's not on them. They don't have the tools to do it. And I know I've given this example a million times, but it's worth saying again. If you have a carpenter who makes the best furniture in the world, best cabinets in the world, he's a total genius, makes bookcases and spice racks and all the wonderful things carpenters can do. And you say, here, my transmission's messed up in my car. Will you fix it? He's going to take his hammer. He's going to take his nail. He's going to take his drills, and he's going to destroy your engine because he's a carpenter. He's not a mechanic. And you say, well, what did you do, you dummy? You destroyed my engine. He says, I'm a carpenter. Why did you ask me to fix your transmission? Why'd you ask me to fix your engine? That's on us. It's not on them. They're going to take the power abhors a vacuum, or nature abhors a vacuum. So there's a vacuum. You give it to them, they're going to take it. So it's not about doctors. So I said to Rebecca, Rebecca's headline was first, what are they hiding from you? And I don't like that position, and we in longevity kind of are guilty of that a little bit, of blaming doctors, attacking doctors, saying they're murderers and this and that. That's really not what it's about.
No, you got me all wrong.
Not you.
But so my title was what they're not telling
Oh,
you.
what they're not telling you, right? What they're not telling you.
So they may not even know.
They don't know. That's right. That's right. That's right. They don't know. But I want to really be clear as a pharmacist who talks about nutrition all the time that I don't take the stance that these are bad people. They're good people. They just don't have the tools. And we're asking them to do something they're not equipped for. So that's first of all. So, and then getting to your question about calcium, calcium is a very, very, very misunderstood nutrient, element, atom. I hesitate to say mineral because it's not really a mineral in the body, although in places it is a mineral. And real quick digression here, when we say minerals, it's somewhat inaccurate and it leads to a lot of leads to a lot of misunderstandings in the sense that the only minerals in the body, teeth and your skeletal system. That's the hard stuff. And when we hear calcium, we automatically think of the bones. I mean, most of us. But if you're a biochemist, probably not. But if you're the average person, you mostly think of the bones because calcium has this connotation of hardness. Am I right, Rebecca? Is that okay? So, and I can't see anybody else. I'm going to use you as the representative of the crowd, the audience. So, calcium. When we think of calcium, we think of hardness, right? Because we think it's a mineral, and we think of minerals, we think of hardness. So, the point is, calcium's role in the body is primarily not about hardness. Yes, most of the calcium is stored in the body in your bones and your teeth, but calcium's main role is to activate. It's an activator. It turns on cells. That's its main role. It has a secondary role of neutralizing acid. Real quickly, the blood pH, the acid level, if you will, the pH, has to be alkaline, slightly alkaline. Alkalinity is an acid or electrical phenomena, even though we refer to it as chemistry. When something's alkaline, it has lots of electrons, energy, electrical energy. You want the blood to have electrons. You want to have energy, a lot of energy. As we age and as the impact of cellular distress, nutritional deficiencies, lack of oxygen, etc., kick in, our blood becomes acid. Acid represents waste. That's why you sometimes hear people say, alkalinize or die, you want to stay away from acid, cancer loves acid. You hear it like this knock on acid. What it really is acid is a sign of waste and duress and stress. So when the blood pH drops, which is a sign of stress, duress, disease, hard work also produces acid, as anybody who's in the gym knows. When they lift weights, you produce acid. The body has a mechanism for raising or alkalinizing the blood. Very elegant mechanism. It will take calcium from the bones and put it in the blood. Now, of course, this is going to soften the bones in the long run. It's one of the major reasons why bones become soft, but it also raises the calcium levels in the blood. Over time, that calcium will then deposit, because one of the mechanisms the body has, or the blood has, for getting rid of stuff is to deposit it, to kick it out. And it will start to deposit in the heart, in the thyroid, in the pineal gland, the soft tissues of the body. And this is called calcification. And it's one of the ways, in fact, that organs become dysfunctional. It's one of the ways we die. But it's not the calcium that's at fault. And it's the metabolic issues, the toxicity, the sugar, the malnourishment, the lack of oxygen. It's not the calcium. If the medical model has a flaw, it's this. It looks at the fruit, not the root. It treats the fruit, not the root. The problem with calcification is not the calcium. That's the fruit. That's the end. It's the metabolic process that's leading to the calcium, the waste, the stress, the malnourishment, the hypoxia. Now, you go to a doctor, he doesn't know this. He's not a chemist. And he may know it a little bit. I'm not saying they're dummies, but that's not his specialty. His specialty is help you with the calcium. So he's going to do things, whatever he can do for the calcium. And as it turns out, there's not much you can do, but they can do some side strategies or protocols, like a statin drug, for example, which will lower cholesterol levels and maybe improve blood pressure, etc. But the problem is the metabolic distress, and this is always the problem. The metabolic distress is a weird word. Metabolism is kind of a vague word. Nobody really has, there's different ways of defining it, but basically it's biochemical distress. Our biochemistry is messed up, which is why, by the way, if you're sick, you go to a biochemist, not a doctor. Doctors are clinicians. They practice clinical chemistry, the chemistry of the clinic, chemistry of test scores and blood pressure and cholesterol levels and TSH and BMR. That's clinical chemistry. We're not statistics. We're not test scores. We're not clinics. We're biochemical entities, which is why you want to go to a biochemist who understands how all the pathways work. And that's basically what we talk about in this program. Now, I'm not the best biochemist in the world, but I blend biochemistry with nutrition. This is what Dr. Wallach did. We blend biochemistry with nutrition. We blend biochemistry with nutrition to try and change the health of the body rather than looking at the numbers and trying to lower or raise your test scores so that you're healthier. And again, I know I've given this metaphor before, but it's a perfect metaphor. It's like when you go to a restaurant and you eat the hamburger and you spit it out because it tastes terrible, and the waiter says, "What are you talking about? It tastes terrible." It says right here on the menu, delicious hamburger, most delicious hamburger in the world, voted best hamburger. You're crazy. Say, I don't care. Tastes like crap, right? So it's the same idea. We're eating the menu. When you dose yourself with drugs, or worse, have surgical procedures that remove organs based on test scores, you're eating the menu. You're living your life based on metrics. And that's allergy testing is the classic example. People all want to get allergy tested when they think they have an allergy or they get recommended. It's almost like we ignore what's going on in our bodies so that somebody can tell us what's happening in our bodies. Oh, we're over here, and they take a piece of your blood and they put it in a little petri dish and they watch what happens when you add milk or eggs or beans or whatever into the petri dish. And you're over here and you go, "Hey, what's it say over there about my body and that petri dish of yours?" Like, we're so disassociated from our bodies that we listen to the petri dish and the interpretation of the petri dish rather than our bodies. Go by your bodies. The beautiful thing about this model is it simplifies everything. If it's all about the blood, and it's always about the blood, you just got to ask, where does the blood come from? It comes from the foods we eat. Now, I did a thing with AJ on Monday or on Brights, and somebody said, well, it's the bone marrow. No, it's not the bone marrow. The blood cells come from the bone marrow. The blood itself, which is 55% plasma and stuff inside the plasma, aside from the cells, about 45% or so cells. The rest of it comes from the foods we eat, as everything does. It's about the foods. It's all about digestion. And when I'm including sugar in there, and those are the first 2 points in the triangle of disease. People simplify. Don't be fooled by all the complication and molecular models and genetics and all the ways that health gets obfuscated and comes out of our control. That's really what it amounts to. It comes out of our control. We lose authority over our bodies. We lose control over our bodies, and we go to other people to tell us. So for calcium's tightly controlled. The parathyroid controls calcium. Intestinal controls calcium absorption. Vitamin D controls calcium absorption. Calcium absorption is tightly regulated. You don't just take supplements and all of a sudden it goes into your blood and into cells. That's not how it works. It's tightly regulated because it's so activating. Do you know there's something called calcium toxicity, where you have too much calcium and cells burn out because calcium is so activating? So it's very, very, very regulated. If you have elevated calcium, you can rest assured that your body's trying to do something. Now, you could have a parathyroid hormone or tumor or something like that. There's weird things along those lines. But for most people, it's a way that the body is trying to alkalinize acid blood. And so there's things you can do. Obviously, you want to clean the blood. That's always the first thing you can do. But magnesium can balance out calcium. Vitamin K can help balance out calcium. If worse comes to worse, fiber, calcium can stick to fiber and phytates and such. But really, for the most part, it's not the blood, which means it's about digestion and about sugar. And that's how you deal with if you've been told you have too much calcium, that what they really mean probably, or what they were concerned about, is calcification. And there's lots of ways to clean the blood or to prevent calcification, most importantly, alkalinizing the blood with oxygen, with nutrition, and by staying away from toxicity. And that includes sugar. Is that answer the question, do you think?
So that does answer the question. Now here's part B of that.
Yes.
with an elevated lipoprotein or
Yes.
lipoprotein.
Yes. Yes, lipoprotein.
Is there a
right.
connection between an elevated
Well,
lipoprotein?
what is
and-
lipoprotein?
So lipoprotein is, I had it here. I was going to be ready to answer that question, but you know how you get on the spot and your brain just
Okay.
goes,
All right. Just by the word. Just go by the word. Don't get
that,
calm. No, not quite. Lipoprotein.
no?
Listen, lipoprotein. Lipoprotein. Is it
It's a
fat?
protein.
Yes, it's a protein. It's called lipoprotein. So lipoprotein is a bubble. The blood is watery, right?
Okay, yeah.
So can fats go in water?
They don't mix, no.
They don't mix. So the body has a way of transporting fats by attaching them to protein, which does go in water. Follow me? Does it make sense?
Okay.
So lipoprotein is a carrier
Mm-hmm.
that allows things to be transported. You've heard of HDL, right?
Yes.
You've heard of LDL,
High
right?
density,
High density
low
what?
density.
High density, low density what?
Lipoprotein.
Yes, exactly. So when people tell you have high cholesterol, they don't know how high your cholesterol is. They know you have high HDL and high LDL, right? They call it, they don't ever say you have high cholesterol. They say you have high HDL cholesterol or high LDL cholesterol. There's no cholesterol in your blood because cholesterol is a wax. It's fat, it's waxy, it's going to stick. It can't go in the blood, right?
Right.
Unless it's cholesterol sulfate, which is a little different. But cholesterol is a wax, so it has to get carried in a lipoprotein. So high lipoproteins mean your body is trying to carry fats around. And the major cause of high lipoproteins is lots of fats and cholesterol as well. Now, why would there be lots of fats in the blood? Because of how we eat. So it's an eating issue. But there's also fats or cholesterol that's carried in lipoproteins. So why would cholesterol be carried in lipoproteins? Well, let me put it this way. Cholesterol is carried in lipoproteins in two directions, right? One direction is to store the cholesterol. And it turns out cholesterol that's an HDL, high density lipoprotein, that goes to storage. You with me so far?
Okay.
But there's cholesterol that goes out of storage. And that's transported in low density lipoprotein. So cholesterol goes to storage. It gets stored, either cholesterol you're making, cholesterol you're eating. That's HDL. And that's called good cholesterol. Why? Because instead of it floating around the blood, it's going to the warehouse. It's getting stored. LDL is the opposite. It's going out of the warehouse. So logic, this is not fancy schmancy chemistry, science, anything, medicine. Logic, why would cholesterol go out of the warehouse?
Because it's not needed,
No, go out of the warehouse.
out of the warehouse? Because is there too much cholesterol in the warehouse?
Just be logical. It's being needed. It's being used.
Oh,
You need it for something, right?
That's right. That's right. Okay.
It's just logic. This is all just logic. Cholesterol goes to storage when it's not needed. It gets stored. It goes out when it's being used. So what is cholesterol being used for? To make cells, to make hormones. And in terms of heart disease, cholesterol is being used as a Band-Aid to patch up a weak vessel. The cholesterol is your friend. But the doctors say there's an association between heart disease and high LDL cholesterol. Well, yeah, there's an association because when you have a weak heart, your body's trying to patch up the vessels. But they see it not as a Band-Aid, but as a cause. Are you with me?
Yep, I'm with you.
They're seeing it as a cause. It's not a cause, although blockages can be a problem for sure. But the initial reason why cholesterol is forming plaques, along with calcium, by the way, and that's another reason why calcium is released, is to kind of patch up the weak vessel. That's the body's adaptive response. You don't want to shut that down. You want to figure out, why is the vessel weak? And that's the real problem. The real problem is MBFA. We're falling
My body's
apart.
falling
We're
apart.
falling apart. That's the real problem. And there's no drug on planet Earth. There's no surgical procedure. There's no doctor protocol. There's no anything that can help correct a body that's falling apart from a medical perspective. It's lifestyle. So to answer your question, lipoprotein is associated with heart disease in the sense that lipoprotein can mean that the body's trying to patch up a vessel. Elevated lipoproteins can also be associated with a poor diet, with elevated blood fats or sugar for that matter, elevated sugar. And that's where lipoproteins become a problem. But the lipoproteins themselves are not the problem. The lipoproteins are a sign, the elevated lipoproteins are a sign of the problem. Does that make sense?
Makes
And
sense.
and the more lipoproteins you have also thickens the blood. And that also can create a problem. High blood pressure with poor oxygenation, with blood clotting, and blockages in the vessels. So lipoprotein can be a problem for sure, but the way you handle it is you figure out what the heck, why we have so much lipoprotein, and that usually involves diet, as well as perhaps the body's attempt to deliver cholesterol to a fragile or weakened vessel. And all of this is minutia in a way, because it doesn't really matter. Eat right, supplement, exercise, breathe, get rest, sleep, activate spiritual, mental, and emotional strategies. This is all the same stuff. The minutia is interesting if you like biochemistry, but it's not necessary if you just want to correct a health challenge.
Okay, so here's a question for you. In this condition where you've got the elevated
Lipoprotein.
calcium and lipoprotein,
Yeah.
would something like a PCSK9 inhibitor?
The most idiotic things. What Rebecca's talking about for the listeners is it's an injectable cholesterol suppressant instead of a statin drug. They inject you and they're evil. They're awful. They're demonic. They're terrible. Why would you shut down biochemistry? Why would you suppress biochemistry? You want to figure out why the biochemistry is elevated, not suppress it artificially. You know, it's like ablations. It's like beta blockers. Yeah. It's like thyroid inhibitors. You don't want to do that to the body. And the only reason we do it to the body is because we don't really understand our bodies. If we understood what we're doing to what these things were doing to our bodies, we would never do them. No, that drug is a terrible drug. It's an awful drug. Unless you have something called familial hypercholesterolemia, which is a disease where you're just cranking out ridiculous amounts of cholesterol, then you may need some kind of suppression, some kind of pharmaceutical intervention. But for most people who are making a lot of cholesterol, it's sugar. That's the main reason why cholesterol goes up is sugar. Also hormonal stress, because the body's trying to make more cortisol, more estrogen, more testosterone. Under conditions of where the body needs to make more hormones, steroid hormones, that is, it will make more cholesterol. It always comes down to anytime you have elevations in something like a vital molecule like cholesterol, the answer is not to shut it down. That is dumb. And I always hate to talk to people who aren't, you know, it's not the people on this call's fault. I want to talk to doctors. I want to see, what are you thinking? You know, why are you doing this? So if you have elevated cholesterol, treat it like a blood sugar problem, period. And for most people, your cholesterol will drop like a stone. Just treat yourself like a diabetic, even if you haven't been diagnosed as such. Now, can we get questions?
So yeah, we've got some questions coming as well, but here's the next question. Has to do going back to the elevated calcium, which is very elevated.
If it's very, very elevated, there could be a parathyroid issue. That's possible. Is that the case?
That's what I was thinking, because it's like in the thousands on the numbers
that could be
that
could be a hormonal issue. Has the person been checked for the parathyroid hormone?
I do not know that.
That would be
that would be a question.
If it's really that elevated, that's what I would do.
Okay. And in general, what would you start with when it comes to
I would be
nutrition?
I'd be working for comorbidities,
Mm-hmm.
other health challenges, focusing on digestion and the blood sugar system. Nobody will just have hypercalcemia, too much calcium in the blood. There'll be other metabolic issues that you can control.
Okay.
You're not gonna like shut down calcium release from the bones, because that's a mechanism that's built in to alkalinize the blood. But if it's that high, I would be looking at a parathyroid issue, hyperparathyroidism.
Okay. That's what I was thinking too. So let's
And there are
go
tumors, cancer. It could also involve cancer too. Tumors in the parathyroid tumors.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, fortunately, white blood count is okay. Would that be an indicator of something to look?
Yeah, white blood cells, that would be, if they were high, they would say there's some kind of infection.
Okay.
So I would say that there's no infection, probably no cancer if white blood cells are okay. But it's still worth checking it out. It's not an unusual situation. They call it hypercalcemia. Too much calcium. Ema means blood. Hyper, too much calcium in the blood. It's not that uncommon. And it can happen in people who don't necessarily have symptoms. The most common cause, as I say, is some kind of malignancy or hyperparathyroidism. It could also involve blood toxicity.
And is it genetic?
Everything's genetic. You mean, is it hereditary? It's not hereditary.
Yes.
No, it's not hereditary. It's metabolic. And I'm not teasing you. That's a really important distinction. We say genetic when we mean heredity. Everything's genetic. Everything, your body's made from everything you do. You can't wiggle your finger without some kind of genetic activity. So everything's genetic. But what you mean is it passed on through heredity. We kind of conflate those two ideas. No, it's not passed on with heredity. It's a sign of some kind of metabolic distress, a malignancy, hyperparathyroidism, blood acidity, and it can be a serious issue. It can definitely be a serious issue. As I said, calcium is an activator, and it can create stones, and it can create calcification of tissues.
So,
okay.
Well, and that's the reason why I asked if it was genetic, because I knew that you would
I hammer that?
give some clarity to the difference between the two.
Yes.
So thank you so much for that.
Yes.
And let's go over to Phyllis. And folks, I hope you're taking notes. And if you're thinking about somebody that might be experiencing some of the things that we talk about on this show, make sure that you share this show with them. We are on YouTube, Rumble, X, Facebook, and it's in public domain. So you can share. Also, make sure that you are liking and subscribing to our channel so that you can continue to get notifications of when we go live. So, Phyllis, welcome. And what question do you have for Pharmacist Ben today?
Hola.
Hola. I too love your shirt. It's so cheerful. You just can't look at it and not feel cheery.
Thank you. I like that.
We have an interesting question from YouTube. D Long wants to know your thoughts about the IgG food sensitivity test. Is it reliable? Is it accurate?
The problem with food sensitivity tests is what they do is they take a food, they put it in a petri dish, and they put your blood, mix it up, and see what happens. That's basically how a test works. They react it, and they see what happens. The problem is sometimes your body changes things into things that you're allergic to, but that's not the original food. So I don't really see the need for a test, an IgG test or a test. Eat a food, see how you feel. Basically, testing is a huge profit center for practitioners, for testing companies. And so everybody's encouraged to test. Now you have with malpractice insurance, malpractice lawsuits, et cetera. There's a kind of justification for testing everything. For food allergies, eat a food, see how you feel, and just eat that food. That's what they're going to do in a petri dish with your test, or however they do the test in a test tube, or whatever kind of device they use. Just eat a food, see how you feel. Why bother with testing? It really says to me that we don't believe our own eyes. We don't believe our own reactions. We don't believe our own understandings. We don't trust ourselves. And in fairness, we're led to believe we're too stupid. What medical school did you go to, Phyllis? Did you get that from Dr. Google? Did you read that on Dr. Google? There's kind of this idea that we're too dumb. We're not too dumb. We can all do this. If you eat a food and you get bloated or have rashes or have brain fog or, increases in pain or inflammation, well, you've got a problem with that food. What's the point of a test?
So the food journal is really the easy way to do this.
It's not an easy way. It's
Right.
not easy. It's a little tricky, but it's the best way.
Can you also explain the difference between a food sensitivity and a food allergy? Because I know
Yes,
we can get over sensitivities,
a
right?
sensitivity is different. A sensitivity is technically an intolerance. An allergic reaction involves the immune system. Intolerances can be mechanical. They don't necessarily involve the immune system. So when the immune system is involved, you typically have an allergic response. That's called an allergy. For things where you maybe get bloated or gassy or irritated, and you don't have a full-blown immune reaction, those are more of an intolerance. Like gluten intolerance is because gluten is sticky and it can interfere with cell chemistry in the intestine. That interference with the cell chemistry can lead to inflammation and leaky gut and malnutrition, et cetera, but it's not an allergy. It's an intolerance. And that's different from an allergic reaction. Now, you can have both. You can have a gluten allergy, but when you hear intolerance, you're referring to something that's more mechanical and less immune. It's a subtle distinction. Yes, go ahead.
Isn't it true if we heal our guts, then certain sensitivities might go away?
100%, 100%. Because you could be hypersensitive. Your intestine could be super inflamed, and anything you eat could be a problem. The immune system can be activated by anything. Yes, absolutely. Sometimes when you lay off of eggs, for example, for a couple of weeks or a month or a couple of months, and then you have an egg, you may not have that kind of reaction. Once your body has been desensitized, it's not as jumpy.
I have even heard Dr. Conaway say that some people who claim they have a reaction to be on Tangy Tangerine, she has them start out on an extremely small amount, taking it very, very slowly, and they get past that.
If you have an allergy, an extremely small amount will trigger it. So if you can do an extremely small amount of something and not get an allergy, you're not allergic.
Then it's an intolerance.
It's more of an intolerance.
Yeah.
And it's almost impossible to be allergic to anything in this stuff. I don't say impossible because you never know. There's always weird cases, but next to impossible to be allergic to anything. You can react maybe, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're allergic. Most allergies, the vast majority of allergies are to proteins. There's some exceptions to that, but the vast majority are to proteins.
Thank you for clarifying.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Phyllis. And AJ has a question.
It's actually a comment, Pharmacist Ben. So,
yes.
If you go to Critical Health News and you subscribe to the newsletter, you'll get a free downloadable, printable copy of our food diary. But Becca and I have taken your brain and things that you've said in the past and made an app. So the first step would be to download the food diary, and then you can contact a member of our team or a member of one of our holistic health coach small group. We have another small group of health coaches who are using these tools that we created from the mind of Ben Fuchs and Dr. Wallach, that you can put in your symptoms, you can put in the foods you ate, chronicle the foods you ate, chronicle how you feel. We put it on a graph and then explain to you exactly what's going on with you and how these foods may or may not be reacting to you.
Yes. Are you asking me a question?
Oh, I mentioned I was making a comment.
Oh, mention a comment. Okay, got it.
And I can't wait to see my guy on Monday.
You mean you talking about me?
Come by you. You're the man.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, AJ,
Yes.
for sharing that. Yes, because that is an amazing tool that's been put together that is taking information from previous podcasts to answer questions in regards, and because there's so many. And Pharmacist Ben, you keep saying, I hate to sound like a broken record.
I do. I feel terrible saying it sounds like a broken record.
But we've got the triangle disease.
Yeah. There's basic things that, Yeah, there's these basic things: the fourfold square health, the triangle of disease, all diseases, cell disease, dirty blood, the fruit, not the root. AJ, can you put all that together?
He did.
Sure. He did?
We in multiple ways. Triangle of disease.
No, in one place. One place?
Triangleofdisease.com is a great place for anyone to start and understand everything that you've been teaching us.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
All right.
Triangleofdisease.com. All right. I got another question, Pharmacist Ben.
Yes. Yes.
So Jerry and Anna, their question is, could
Yes.
red blood lab tests tend to be above normal for an 83-year-old male?
Could red blood cell, say that again? Could red blood cell test be above
Red-
normal?
Yeah,
Yes,
it
if
says
red blood
could
cells, yeah, there are certain disease states where you make too many red blood cells. So why would that happen? What do red blood cells do? They oxygenate. So under under conditions of lack of oxygen, one of the things the body might do is make more blood cells to carry more oxygen. That would be a sign that there's some kind of inflammation going on. Something is keeping oxygen from getting into the tissues, which is very common. You know, oxygen is delivered from the blood. Oxygen, if the blood is sticky, viscous, hypercoagulated, not circulating for one reason or another, not circulating like it should, that could be perceived as by the brain as let's make some more red blood cells to carry more oxygen. Problem there is, just because you have more red blood cells, just because you have more red blood cells doesn't mean you're going to bring more oxygen to the tissues if the circulation is suffering. And B, you can cause problems by making the blood thicker and cause even more problems with too many red blood cells. In fact, there's a disease called an autoimmune disease called polycythemia vera. Have you heard of this? And that is basically the same. I'm pretty sure I should probably check that, but that's, as I recall, that is too many red blood cells, and that causes blood thickening. So yes, that could be a problem.
So that could be a problem.
Yes.
So when we're oxygenating the blood,
Yes.
deep breathing is part of that.
That is, and that is important to do. However, if you have clogs, sticky blood, you may not be able to get the oxygen that you need just by deep breathing. So sticky blood is really the big problem here. And so it boils down to thinning the blood. Anything you do to improve fluidity of the blood. And that's one of the places where oxygen can help. In addition to improving delivery, having more oxygen so you get more oxygen delivery, oxygen has a fluidizing effect on the blood. It improves blood fluidity, which is why breathing exercises can be so helpful. Water improves blood fluidity. Ultimate enzymes will improve blood fluidity. Nattokinase will improve blood fluidity. Fucoid Z will improve blood fluidity. Glucogel caps will improve blood fluidity. And laying off of sugar and keeping toxins from getting in through a leaky gut will improve blood fluidity. And activity, movement will improve blood fluidity. Also, deep breathing, in addition to oxygenation, helps propel the blood via the diaphragm. This is especially valuable for people with heart disease or heart failure, is you can actually support the pumping of the heart, or AFib for that matter. And that's also in many ways an oxygenation issue, AFib. So you can improve AFib, cardiovascular health, if you're dealing with heart disease, cardiomyopathy, heart failure, etc., by slow, deep, rhythmic breathing that activates the diaphragm, which acts like a pump. And not only does that diaphragm act like a pump for the blood, it also acts like a pump for the lymph. And that will support lymphatic movement, which is also critical for the